Hey, Beth, how are you?
Good. Oh, I'm on mute. Hold on. Am I on
Okay.
mute?
No, you're not. I can hear you.
Oh, okay, good, good. You
Good to
can't
see
see me
you.
though, right? I just got up. I don't want
That,
anyone to see me.
that's okay. It's good to have you back.
I know. I'm happy to be here. Hi.
So week one and feeling good, you said in your message?
Yeah, I am. I a little bit yesterday and this morning. I have that like the beginning headache, sort of
Yeah,
mild headache, but which I don't remember from last time, but I remember talking about it last time.
it's a thing. You can increase your salt intake a little bit. Uh,
Oh,
that
good
that's gonna
idea.
help. Yeah, that's
Okay.
gonna help with that. All right,
Okay.
let me find the slides for today. I was just messing with them. And here we go.
Good morning.
All right. Hey, Bob, how are you? How's Denise feeling?
Well, she's still asleep.
Okay.
Um, got reoccurring sinus issues, but
Mm.
she's on more meds. So
Okay.
not getting very, thanks for asking.
Well, it's just been the week. I was thinking about you guys all week because I know she was not feeling well like last week.
Right. And then she's been actually out on the town quite a bit too. So
Okay. All right. So she's not bedridden. She's just
ex-
wearing herself out.
exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
And Sal, you got a new background. You've been playing with the Zoom backgrounds, huh?
You taught me everything I know.
That's so funny. Little did he know in Well 12 you get tech support as well as Zoom support. Beth, it was so funny. We spent some time last week fooling around with backgrounds, and inside Zoom you can have little switches where you can have fun. What was it? Set like funny eyebrows and stuff, and the background effects.
Yeah.
Let me see. So we were
My
just
wife
having.
said, my wife says to me, "Get rid of that background you got." I said, "Honey, you won't believe the background I got. I got a fantastic one." I said, "Sanjay took showed me how to do it, and it's perfect."
Oh, that's so funny. Here, like, let's
Love
see. I
that.
can,
That's awesome.
I can. What is this? I can put a mustache and beard. Can you see? I've got a. I'm
I
rocking. I'm rocking a
I got
mustache now.
I got a priest, and I'm wanting to paint a mustache on him so bad. I think the guy would look great in the mustache. I have to take his picture.
I think that's definitely a generational thing, Sal. I think most, well, you know what? I was at the gym the other day and all the young kids have mustaches now. Like, like there is this, what is that, Movember or whatever, the mustache November thing,
Yeah.
for a while going. And then now they're just, people are rocking the mustaches. So maybe it's coming back. I look like Teen Wolf when like that wispy kind of beard. So I can't really do the facial hair thing. Plus, all the girls, my daughters, my wife, just absolutely hate it. During initial COVID, I grew a beard, and it was not well received in the Bojangles
Well, it's
household. But I thought I looked good. Whatever. All right. Well, let's get started today, guys. So happy to be here. We have a new friend, but part of the Well 12 family. Beth is starting again with us, so she's doing well. So welcome
hey,
to you, Beth. Great to have you
thank
back.
you. Good to be back.
And today we're going to talk about inflammation. And it's something that comes up so many times. So I like to give this talk a couple of times a year, like maybe once a quarter or so, just to make sure that we're all up to speed with what's going on, and definitely want to get that sorted out. First thing, as always, we'll start with some breath work. Before I get started with the breath work, though, any questions or anything that's come up over the week for you guys, or we'll have some time for Q&A afterwards as well, but anything burning a hole in your brain right now?
Not with me.
Okay. Sal, how about you?
No, I'm fine. I just got off insulin totally. And
Wow.
and what's happening is I I'm staying below 150, but occasionally I spike. I'll eat something that I shouldn't eat and it'll zoom it straight up. I'm tempted to use insulin again. Should I should I try to get the highs down with a little bit of insulin, or should I?
Well, I mean that I think definitely you need to talk to your endocrinologist about.
Okay.
Do you have like a continuous glucose monitor? Is this based on finger sticks, or how do you know that
No,
you're
no, no. I'm on Dexcom 7.
so you have the CGM?
Yeah.
So part of it is, looking at the physiology of what's going on with you, and if it's a post meal, we call it postprandial spike of
Yes.
insulin, then that's just normal physiology, and depending on how quickly your body can bring it down, but that's pretty advanced kind of titration of insulin. So, talk to your endocrinologist, but I mean, amazing that you are able to come off a little bit, right? I mean, if you think about that, because now,
I was taking a ton of that stuff at one time. I mean, I
Mm.
hate to tell you, I was so insulin resistant, it was ridiculous. I was just pouring insulin on me,
well,
and
it's like,
I've just stopped it.
yeah, well, I stopped it, but your numbers are okay. You just didn't stop it, and your
Yeah.
body is like
Oh,
falling
no,
out of whack.
no. My A1C is coming below. It'll be below 7 this time. I,
Wow.
I'm definitely coming down.
Awesome. Well, that's
We're we're
so good to hear.
we're fasting. It's Lent for us. We're Catholic,
Hmm.
and we're only eating one meal a day,
Yeah.
one full meal a day. So that's helped with weight loss and keeping everything in control.
Well, and for you too, because you've been doing the intermittent fasting and stuff with the program, your body is, and we'll talk a little bit today about mitochondria again, because we love talking about mitochondria almost every week. But we talked about that switch called AMP-K, which is the cellular switch from carbohydrate metabolism to fat metabolism. So now your body is what's called fat adapted, so you can tap into those stores so much easier, and that's why, one meal a day doesn't seem like such a stretch, because your body is now able to fuel itself on what you want. Fatty acids, which are fat, right? The pinchable, lovable stuff that we all have, is a more efficient fuel, um, for your body to use, particularly in the brain and in the heart. It actually prefers that. It's just it costs a little bit more energy. But as you are now kind of fat adapted, and your body is using that as fuel, things will fire on more cylinders, but you're not going to feel that. I know that part of the fasting is that sensation of deprivation, that you're doing it in the name of God and all, but physiologically your body isn't in such a scarcity mode, so you can kind of sail through a little bit easier, hopefully. So I think that's brilliant news, Sal. Like, so I'm happy for you. And then to come off of insulin, what a great thing that is, right? I mean, that's pretty remarkable to be able to do that.
That's big. Getting off insulin is big.
I mean, and insulin, as we've talked about before, is a growth factor. So, there's studies that show that people with higher insulin levels are more metabolically dysregulated, higher incidence of cancers, all that stuff, because insulin's a growth factor. So it forces cells into go, go, go mode. Oh, what happened there? Oh, there we go. It forces cells into go, go, go mode. And so they just start growing, right? And so one of the early signs of insulin resistance is getting those skin tags, like on the back of your neck or in the armpit areas. People get those because the cells don't know what to do, so they just grow these skin tags out. But your insulin levels, were sky high because you're injecting it, but now that you're not having to, that's a great thing, right? That you've sensitized to insulin, and you don't need as much. So that's great.
I have a quick follow-up question for you on that, Sanjay. I know you want
Hmm.
to get started on breath work.
That's time.
So the fat being fat adapted, how, sort of a general question, how long does that last? In other words, you're on well 12, you go through the 12 weeks like Charles and I did,
Hmm.
and then you start, I don't want to say eating normally because I've never gone back to the way I was eating before, but how long does that last in your body when you start eating, say, more carbohydrates or more
Yeah.
oils or.
Yeah, so the oils are not as big a deal. The carbs are, because your body will kind of flip back and forth. That's why even if you are kind of eating off program a little bit during that kind of, when you're out in the wild kind of time, still
Right.
remaining intermittent fasting, still kind of
Okay.
greases that wheel a little bit. And so,
Okay.
but I'll say everybody's individually different. Of course, I think women tend to it takes a little longer to kind of get into that mode than for guys. Although the literature suggests that women actually are more metabolically flexible than men, meaning they can ping pong back and forth a little bit more easily. So, it's really an individual kind of thing. Part of it probably has a lot to do with what we're going to talk about today is how much inflammation you're carrying and whatnot,
Yes.
because inflammation can unwind your metabolic processes as well. So, I don't think there's a hard and fast rule. I would say probably, I mean, if you had to pin me down and held a gun to my head and said, give me an answer, um, you know, probably 7 to 10 days would be the time frame where it would unwind a little bit. But then, if you go back to it, you can re-recruit those pathways a little bit more quickly. So, I think that it wouldn't be, it's not like it would take like normally like when you start well 12, right? For women in particular, it can take 2 to 3 weeks before you start to see that shift in your metabolism.
Mhm.
I think probably if you're really primed and depending on how often you're doing it, yeah, I'd say 7 to 10 days would be a reasonable time frame.
Yeah. Well, I've stayed with the fasting, and I think that that's helped measurably. I mean, I'm already I'm 4 days in now, and I've lost 5 pounds already.
Yeah,
So
and that's a lot of
crazy.
inflammation weight, right? That's a lot
Yes,
of that's and so
and I knew it was
now,
there. I knew it was
yeah.
there.
And so now as you're kind of locking in a little bit more, your body again, that's a great intro to what we're going to talk about today,
Okay.
but your things will be unlocked and brain's going to work better and hormones are going to work better and all the good
Mhm.
things that are going to happen. So that's great. Good morning, Jane. How are you?
Good morning. I'm here. Thank you.
Good to see you. All right. Well, let's get started. You can take cameras off today for our breath work as we get started, except for Jane. Let me know if you're hearing the track here. Where's it going here? Come on. Oh wait, that's there. Can you guys hear the music or no?
No.
No. All right. So that's a problem. Let me stop share. Stop. We're gonna share computer audio. Share. Oh, what happened here? Cancel. All right. How about now? Okay, perfect. All right, you guys can come off camera. All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the session of Well 12. So great to have you here. Our breathwork today is going to focus on relaxation, calm, and focus. So we'll begin today, as always, by finding a comfortable seated or lying position. If it feels safe to you, close your eyes and let your hands rest gently in your lap or by your sides. As we get started, let's start by bringing attention to your breath. No need to change anything, just observe. Notice how the rise and fall of your chest helps bring air in and out. The air feels cool as it comes in, and as you exhale, it feels warm. Now, gently bring awareness to your body. Feel the weight of gravity holding you and supporting you. Feel the ground beneath you, stable, solid, and always there. With each breath, let your body soften. Unclench your jaw, drop your shoulders, and relax your belly. Begin to imagine a sense of calm washing over you like a warm light, flowing from the top of your head, down your neck, into your chest, into your arms, into your legs, and all the way to your feet. Let go of any tension, any thoughts of earlier this week or what's ahead. And know that in this moment, you are safe, you are supported, and you are present. Soon, we'll begin a round of gentle breath work designed to relax your body and sharpen your focus. We're going to breathe in for a count of 4 and out for a count of 8. And now, take one final inhale in through your nose and deep into your belly. And slowly exhale through your mouth completely. And now, gently hold your breath at the bottom. No need to force, just pause and rest here. Feel the stillness. Notice the quiet between breaths. This space is present. And when you need to, allow the next exhale to come in naturally, softly, and return to an effortless breath. Over the next few minutes, Continue this cycle, inhaling through your nose, exhaling through your mouth, and pausing on the exhale. In the pause, try to let your body be completely still and try to let your mind be completely quiet. In the pause, feel the sense of calm that you've cultivated, a calm that lives within you at all times, always available, just one breath away. Take a moment to thank yourself for showing up, for slowing down, and for cultivating this moment of calm. When you're ready, with no hurry, begin to bring gentle movement to your fingers, your toes, and the rest of your body. Slowly open your eyes, and if you're ready, turn on your cameras, and I welcome you back to our session. All right. Hello, everybody. Let me see. We got gallery mode. Let me get these slides back up here. All right. I like that one, short but sweet and effective. All right, let's try this again. Right, there we go. It worked. All right. Well, hey, everybody. Good morning, and thanks for being here. It's a good day today. We're going to talk about inflammation, which is such a central thing to what we talk about. And I heard this line that really has kind of blown my brain up in terms of thinking about this process a little bit differently. But in the body, we talk about our immune system, right? Our immune system is our defender, right? And inflammation is a normal part of the immunologic response, right? So when you're mounting an attack against a virus or an organism, you have to get inflammation markers, and that revs up your immune system. So when we think about inflammation in our body, the line that I heard is inflammation is biological fear, right? Because your body is afraid of something. And if you think about it, I mean, think about how you operate in a fear state, like if you've ever been afraid, like, like you're in a dark alley. I don't know why you put yourself in a dark alley, but you're in a dark alley or something, right? And your brain starts to wander and you're thinking, "Oh my gosh, what about this? Is that a mouse or is that somebody behind the garbage can with a gun?" Right? You're just not making good decisions, right? Your normal processes are completely out of whack. So if you think about inflammation as biological fear, as you're eating the wrong foods, as you're having the wrong habits, as you're doing all these things, your body is afraid and it cannot work correctly, right? I think of like this one time, well, my middle daughter, Haley, when she was a baby, was like intensely afraid of any man but me. Like my dad would come and, her grandfather would try to come and hold her and she would just lock up in fear and like, clench onto my arm. I wish that would continue through high school, but I don't think that's going to happen. But like I remember just that terror on her face when like even her grandpa was there, right? Extreme stranger danger, and you're just not going to be able to make good decisions when that happens, right? And in fact, there's a whole science behind decision making processes. And when you're feeling poorly, when you're sleep deprived, when you're inflamed, you're not going to make healthy decisions because your body goes in this fight or flight mode. There's this book called it's right over there. What is it? Thinking Fast and Slow. These two Nobel laureates wrote it about decision-making processes, and in there it said that when you're one of the studies they did was when you're feeling tired, and you're in this wired and tired, stressed out mode, hormonally, biologically, your body is going to secrete hormones like cortisol to to um, to have you crave sweet and salty, calorie-dense foods because your body goes in the scarcity mode, right? So that's why stress is such an important part of what we do, but inflammation certainly is key to what we do. So it's a remarkable science, remarkable, that's too small, remarkable science, remarkable field, and something that we think about. But when you frame it as inflammation as biological fear, boy, it just as a parent, right? You don't want to you want to make it easy for your child to function, not more difficult, right? You're not going to say, "Oh, if your daughter is already scared, oh, I think I saw a spider in your room. Good night," right? That would never happen, right? Like so we want to give our body the best chance it has, and to do that, we have to reduce inflammation. So we'll talk about today inflammation, good, bad, and the ugly, and we'll talk about what is it, types of inflammation, how does it get hijacked, and all these things. So first of all, as I mentioned, inflammation is a natural and essential biological process of the body's immune system to a harmful stimulus, right? So something it doesn't recognize. There's a bacteria, there's a virus, there's a parasite, even there's a foreign body, right? If you've ever had like a splinter in your finger, right? What happens if you don't take it out immediately? It gets red and inflamed, there's pus, and you have to go in there and dig it out, right? That's that immune response. And it's a complex process that, as I said, defends against infections, toxins, injuries, damaged cell. And the whole idea of this is to remove what's not serving you, right? So think about that. If you remove what's not serving you, you can do that mentally too. Remove people, remove thoughts, remove all these things that aren't serving you. But this is the biologic process of getting rid of a stimulus that's not serving you. So the process starts with recognition of threat, right? And this is where that fear mindset for your body comes into play. Your immune system detects a potential threat, such as invading pathogens, damage, or irritants, and then it releases a ton of chemical mediators that are basically the distress signals, the mayday, mayday kind of signals that your body sends out to the cells that are circulating around in the immune system to localize in one particular location and activate. Right. So we talk about these chemical mediators, and you've heard me talk about things like IL-6 and TNF alpha and all these fancy chemicals, right? So they all have these names, but essentially what they are distress signals that parts of your body are sending out to call in the cavalry, right? So what is the cavalry? Well, these cells like macrophages and others that can come in and kind of chew up what is not recognized. These same chemical mediators increase blood flow, right? So that's where, like, if something is inflamed, like let's say you've played some extra pickleball or whatever it might be, and your knee is inflamed, when you touch it, what happens? Well, it feels warm, right? Because there's more blood flow getting in there. So it increases blood flow, as I mentioned, increases immune cell migration, and then also recruits stem cells into that area for tissue repair. And there's types of inflammation, right? So there's acute inflammation, short-term response to a specific injury or infection, and there you'll see redness, swelling, heat, pain, immobility, right? So that's, when you tweak your elbow doing something, or you tweak your shoulder, you bang your hand against something, or you get hit in the head with a tennis racket, or who you get a big goose egg, right? So that's that acute inflammation. But then there's chronic inflammation as well. And chronic inflammation is what ends up causing a lot of problems for us because it's a prolonged and persistent response for months or even years where the immune system is just unable to clear the trigger or mistakenly attacks normal tissue, right? So these are things like rheumatoid arthritis and lupus and all of these chronic inflammatory conditions that generally speaking, most of the treatments are that we have block the immune system in some way, right? So everybody probably here has been on steroids for inflammation at one point in time, prednisone for like a pneumonia or something to reduce the inflammation in the lungs. Now we have specific antibodies against those cytokines that I was mentioning, things like TNF alpha and IL-6 and IL-1B, all these crazy molecular biology things, to shut off that switch molecularly, but we can also do that through behavioral modification, as you guys are doing. So as I mentioned, a couple of these chronic inflammatory disorders, rheumatoid arthritis certainly comes to mind, inflammatory bowel disease, things like ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. So that's inflammation inside the GI tract. Asthma, chronic asthma, is an inflammatory disorder. Celiac disease, so that's inflammation of the large intestine initiated by gluten or a gluten protein. And then gout, right? I've never had gout, but I had a kidney stone, and people say that gout and kidney stones are very similar in terms of their pain threshold. It is not a fun thing to go through, right? So these are all inflammatory conditions. And where does inflammation start? Well, we've talked about leaky gut before. So here on the left side of the screen, right, you see, oh, I always get the wrong. You see these cells, right? So this is what normal, healthy GI cells should look like. They're stuck together. They have a layer of mucus on top. We call that a biofilm, and there's good bacteria on there. The good bacteria kind of help the body recognize what should pass through. It's like the bouncer at Studio 54 or whatever that club was, right? It lets people in or lets keeps people out depending on what they look like. So that's a good situation. In what happens in the leaky gut situation on this side, though, is that inflammation causes a breakdown of that mucus layer, that biofilm, and then the cells, which normally are tight against one another, start to open up. So now we have this leaky gut. So all these pathogens that normally you can see, the virus and the food particles and whatnot, are able to get passage in between those cells, get taken up by the bloodstream. So they're not modified, they're not broken down, they're just kind of coming into the bloodstream as is, and this sets the body on fire. This is a warning sign, shot out in the night, a distress signal flare saying, "Oh my gosh, all these invaders are coming in. We need to get activated," right? And the problem though is that this leaky gut leads to inflammation, not just in the gut, but because these are systemic molecules, systemic markers that go everywhere, right? Everything gets inflamed. Your brain gets inflamed. Your blood vessels get inflamed. Your endocrine organs, like your pituitary gland and adrenals, get inflamed. So this is a systemic response, right? So systemically, things go haywire. Diverticulitis, anything with itis, itis is the medical suffix for inflammation. So osteoarthritis, diverticulitis, encephalitis, myocarditis, you name the blood vessel, or you name the biological system, folliculitis for your hair follicles, right? I mean, you name the organ or the structure and it has an itis. So osteomyelitis in the bone, right? Everything has an itis because you can have inflammation everywhere. These chemical mediators and these markers are the underlying messengers, distress signals for all of these different processes. And here we see, again, the complex role of the immune system, but you've got the viruses, the bacteria, the fungi, and you have all these molecules, but in the bottom you see the immune cells here getting activated by what's coming across. So again, no examination after this, but just know that this is an excessively complex process. And if your body is living in fear all the time, it is chronically activated, right? And here, this is another just example of all these interleukins. IL stands for interleukin. And you have, interferon gamma and TNF alpha and matrix metalloproteinases. I mean, it is just absolutely complicated, right? But if I think if most people knew the complexity of what's going on inside them, they would take much better care of themselves, right? And so that's why I bring this up. And here again, I'm just trying to scare you guys, I guess, with all these slides. I got a little immunological crazy here, but these DAMPs, these are called damage associated molecular patterns or damage associated molecular proteins. So when you do have these proteins that are getting into the bloodstream, food proteins, virus particles, whatever it may be, they are associated with damage and they rev up the immune system. And this inflammasome thing right here is the initiation of inflammation, systemic inflammation in the body. So when we have inflammation, I think of it now as those background apps on your phone, right? How many times have you been somewhere and you're like, man, why is my phone battery just draining? It was just at, 80% and now it's 20%. What happened? And the first thing people will do is say, turn off all the background apps that are refreshing because you don't know that they're there, right? But they're sucking power out of you. Right. And so that's kind of the idea of what happens with inflammation is that you don't know that it's happening, but you just feel tired, right? How many of you guys like in the program a few days in, maybe 5, 10 days in, notice, oh man, my energy is just feeling better, right? Beth shared with us that she lost, 5 pounds or so up front. Well, that's that inflammation resolving, right? So I would venture to guess, and Beth, you can chime in if it's been your experience or not. But I'd venture to guess that you hopefully are feeling less tired, right? Certainly I know that I do. Oh, she reactivated her
Absolutely.
mic.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
So we are, you know, re what's the proper word? We're restructuring, I guess, or we're taking out all these background apps, and now you're feeling better. My someone I know that I work out with. I took my daughter to the gym yesterday, which is fun. I'm teaching her how to exercise. So I ran to a buddy of mine who has an inflammatory condition, and he said, "Man, gravity is just tough today. I'm so tired." That's what we say when the weights just feel heavy. Gravity is stronger today, and he was saying, "Man, gravity is just tough today." And I asked how you're feeling, and he said, "Oh man, my seasonal allergies are absolutely horrible." And I said, "Well, it's not gravity; it's just your body is consuming so much energy in fighting off inflammation from the seasonal allergies. You're getting an afternoon crash. You've just got poor stamina because it's just draining your battery faster." Right. And for me, one of the interesting things is it affects sleep. So, Sal, a couple of weeks ago, you were asking, how do we know when we react to foods? Remember, you were having this without knowing that we react to foods. Well, these are the sort of symptoms that you might have. Like for me, I talk about it all the time, is peanuts. When I eat peanuts, my sleep is all screwed up. Right. That was kind of the first time I did well 12, and I came out of the release phase and got back into reintroduction. My whole thing, I love peanuts, like handfuls of peanuts, get the big, barrel at Costco, and that thing's gone in a few days, and spoons of peanut butter and all that stuff. And I realized, man, I'm sleeping so much better on the program when I'm eating healthy. So there's probably a lot of circulating toxins or something. And then one of the first things I introduced back, this was still prototyping the program, so I would not suggest you guys do this, but I put peanut butter back in. Right, I love a spoonful of peanut butter, in the evening as I'm watching TV. That's been like since I was a kid. I don't use my finger though, so I actually use a spoon, which is good. And then I saw I'm not getting restful sleep. I'm not getting, all of a sudden my stage 4 REM sleep got all jacked up, got all screwed up. And then I put two and two together and realized, oh my gosh, it's the peanuts that I'm eating, because when I didn't eat peanuts, my sleep was gorgeous. So it's a background app that was just causing inflammation and draining my battery. And then because I was eating that at nighttime, right, my body was inflaming right afterwards when I'm trying to sleep. So my sleep was disrupted as a result of what I ate, right? I never would have thought that before, or never would have put two and two together. So then, as we talk about inflammatory syndromes, right, chronic inflammation will disrupt your hormone balance. So thyroid function. So a lot of clients inside Well 12 have thyroid antibodies. So the body is attacking or inflaming against the thyroid. And when they are eating healthy and they get their thyroid antibodies rechecked, we see a significant drop. This happened to my wife, who has a thyroid issue, and her antibodies dropped down by about 80% the first time she did the program. So all of a sudden her thyroid was working better. And I've had people who, and it's happened to several of you guys where, we have to change medications a few weeks into the program because your body is just doing better. Well, I've had several people that had to readjust their thyroid medication as a result. Adrenal fatigue. So that's this chronic inflammation just tires your body out, right? Adrenal fatigue is this concept of your body is constantly secreting cortisol, right? Your brain, have we talked about virtual tigers? Bob, does that sound familiar at all? So I say that, the world is now full of virtual tigers, where in the caveman days you had to worry about an actual tiger jumping out and eating you alive or whatever it would be. But now our body and our mind, we don't have. I walk out here in Ladera and the most I'll see is a rabbit, right? That's the most dangerous thing I come across. Um, but we create these virtual tigers in our brain of, oh, what's the next thing that's going to happen? There's going to be an email, or I'm going to get this phone call that's going to unwind my day, and we just kind of get in the stress mode. So our body is constantly pumping out cortisol, the stress hormone that. When we talk about sympathetic, parasympathetic, that puts nervous system that puts us in that fight or flight response. But cortisol itself, there's something called the CIR, cortisol inflammatory response. So that chronic elevation of cortisol causes inflammation. So that just tires you out. So that's where we get this wired and tired mode that a lot of people are functioning in. And you're trying to have an extra cup of coffee or whatever it might be to just kind of feel back to normal. But unless you break the cycle with sleep and stress and diet, you're not gonna get any help. Type 2 diabetes, also an inflammatory issue as well. I mean, we talked this morning, Sal, you were saying how now, your insulin is coming down significant or almost completely off, right? Well, now because we're reducing that inflammation inside your mitochondria, inside your cells, your body can work correctly and you don't need as much insulin because the pathways are working well. Right. This is an example of an inflammatory protein here called sex hormone binding globulin. So it's kind of like the school bus that shuttles your hormones around. The only problem is it's like Hotel California. You can check it anytime you want, but you can never leave, or whatever the lyric is, right? So sex hormone binding globulin increases with inflammatory conditions like obesity, right? This is produced by your visceral fat, the fat around your organs, and in that Hotel California mode, DHT is the active form of testosterone. It binds that testosterone, but it never lets it go. So now it basically inactivates testosterone. Same thing for estrogen, same thing for progesterone. So when we're talking about these hormonal swings and all this stuff that happens in the perimenopause period, what's happening is your body loses the feedback of the estrogen and the progesterone, and so now it's spitting out even more because it's thinking that it has to yell even louder when it doesn't. All we have to do is decrease the inflammation, decrease the visceral fat, decrease sex hormone binding globulin, and things feel better again. And so we've had several women in that perimenopausal, postmenopausal kind of state where they say, I just feel a little bit more balanced. Those power surges, we used to call them hot flashes, right? But those power surges just the highs don't seem as high and the lows don't seem as low anymore because we are now giving you more active hormone back. If you ever have a hormone test, a blood test for hormones, they check a free and total, like I just had my blood work done, a free and total testosterone. What's the difference? Well, total testosterone includes the unbound form and the bound form. I can't remember which way I have to point my arrows which. So it's the everything, but really the only functional thing is this right here is the free testosterone, right? And so you have to look at these. So if you see that you've got a high total testosterone and a low free testosterone, well, that's because there's inflammation going on. Same for estrogen, same for progesterone. And this is why hormone replacement therapy has to take this into account, because if all you're doing is giving back more of the active hormone, but you're not taking care of the inflammation, all you're doing is feeding more fuel into that fire for that exogenous hormone to get bound up, and then you're just caught in this constant loop, right? You're running on the treadmill faster and faster. You have to take care of the root cause. You have to take care of the inflammation so that gets better. Cardiovascular, of course, my heart, right? My favorite place. But atherosclerosis is an inflammatory condition. That buildup of plaque in your arteries is inflammatory. In fact, it's an immune mediated thing where you get damage to an LDL particle, and that creates a situation, as we talked about, with these damage associated molecular patterns, revs things up. But atherosclerosis is an inflammatory condition. Blood pressure is an inflammatory condition, the cytokines and blood pressure. Atrial fibrillation also, if I don't, well, you don't have to share, but a lot of people have atrial fibrillation. So that is an inflammatory condition. We see a post-op AFib, so post-operatively when somebody has major surgery, a lot of times they're healing. These cytokines and interleukins are so high, it irritates their heart and causes an inflammation episode. So it's a very common thing that we see. Autoimmune disorders, as we talked about, your body is now tricked into fearing itself. So rheumatoid, lupus, multiple sclerosis, these are all inflammatory conditions. those background apps are just spinning, spinning, spinning. They're running. They don't know what to react against. So now they just get confused and start eating away at your own body. Neurologically, in the brain, so Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, these are all inflammatory conditions. In fact, we had a woman in Well 12, I want to say about a year ago, who had a long COVID situation, and she was going to get put on a pretty heavy immunologic or biologic, it's called, in antibody for Alzheimer's. They thought she had Alzheimer's, and she came to me and saying, "Hey, this medicine kind of sounds scary. Do you think there's something that we could do with diet and lifestyle?" I said, "Absolutely." And within the first like 3 or 4 weeks, reducing her brain inflammation, we call that neuroinflammation, she was back to normal. She was, remembering to put pants and socks on in the right order and all these things. So it's a powerful detractor. And I think a lot of times people just don't realize how much weight inflammation carries in terms of your general overall health. So what are some of the things that we do in terms of diet that put us off? Well, I mean, we know about this, right? Processed foods, high fructose corn syrup, trans fat, sugary beverages, charred meats. So so that barbecue, if you ever eat barbecue and you like that char in Chicago, actually, we're going to Chicago today. There's something called a char dog where you get that nice crispy char on a hot dog. Oh, it tastes so good. But that's a damage associated molecular pattern that will inflame you. And I love this slide, the standard American diet, because if you haven't died yet, you will if you keep eating the standard American way. Some anti-inflammatory foods, things that we put in the program, right? Fatty fish, the omega acids there target these inflammatory molecules. Turmeric, which is very traditional Indian spice to add, but now we've kind of and I tell people it's like in that Big Fat Greek Wedding movie, how the dad put Windex on everything. That's what Indian people do with turmeric. They just put turmeric on it, make it a paste, eat it, put it in your eyeball, whatever. Don't put it in your eyeball, but anywhere that there is an ill, you put turmeric and it seems to get better. Well, the way that happens is molecularly, it targets NF-kappa B, which is like the master regulator of all the inflammatory genes in the body. Ginger, berries, leafy greens, extra virgin olive oil, EVOO, like for anyone who's a Rachel Ray fan. Green tea has this epalocectin gallate, EGCG, that again targets that NF-kappa B, that master regulatory signal for inflammation. So these are all dietary things that you can do, and we see such a significant improvement with diet because we are now shutting off the genes that lead to inflammation. Movement. So exercise reduces pro-inflammatory cytokines, enhances antioxidant defense, improves gut health. So remember we talked about that biolayer and the cells and all that stuff. Well, if you have a preponderance of the good bacteria, the beneficial bacteria in your microbiome, that's a good thing. So movement and exercise does that. And movement also reduces stress, right? After you exercise, you're less likely to be angry and annoyed unless somebody pissed you off at the gym or something like that, right? So that's everything I have to say about that. Any questions, gang? Yes, I'll go ahead. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
I'm sitting here looking at talking about testosterone. I take an testosterone.
Testosterone. Okay.
I take an injection once a week, and it shows testosterone being 310, where the range is 250 to 850. And then it says, what's SHB?
SHBG, that's that sex hormone binding globulin.
Okay, now, but then when it comes to that free testosterone that you just talked about, mine's low. It's 6.6 to 18, and I'm 5'9". I'm not that low, but now how do I get that up? I take injections.
Well, that's the situation, right? If you have that sex hormone binding globulin circulating, right, that any of the testosterone that you're feeding yourself exogenously, a lot of that is being eaten up into that bound testosterone, right? Like it's going into Hotel California, right? You can never leave. So that's where doing exactly what you're doing, and you're seeing signs of it already, right? Is losing fat, adding muscle, dropping visceral fat, all those things that you're doing are slowly over time going to increase that free testosterone as you're decreasing your visceral fat. So, and I think yours is a situation if you're at the point where you need injections, I don't know that I would, I would continue to follow your endocrinologist advice, but as you're looking as to what to do, you should start to see that your free testosterone will go up as you continue to lose weight and not just lose weight, right? But build muscle, lose fat. That's what's really going to kind of switch things. Look, and some people, there are a lot of medications that will affect your testosterone level, a lot of other things, renal disease, all these other things. So, for someone with a lot of medical conditions, not saying that you do, but if there's a lot of other things floating around, it's not going to be just such a simple thing as, oh, if I do a squat, if I start doing squats, things are going to normalize. Like it's never that simple, and I don't make it to sound that way. But there are certainly diet and lifestyle things that you can do, and as you continue to succeed in the program, you'll start to see those labs change. I don't know, and it would be irresponsible of me to predict that you would be able to come off of the medication completely, but maybe we can reduce the dose and get things more efficient inside, right? So
Is
everybody's
there
unique. Go
is
ahead.
there any class of drugs that you can say affect testosterone?
Oh yeah, well, I mean statins for sure. Pain.
I take Repatha.
Okay,
Does that?
so well, because you're decreasing your LDL level, your cholesterol level, but we have to kind of balance. Nothing happens in isolation, right? We have to balance everything. Pain medications can do it. So people who are on chronic pain medicines that can do it. Some of the diuretics, the water pills can. I mean, there's a lot of different things. But I think that's where kind of engaging with your docs and uh, finding a list of medications that decrease testosterone or associated with low. I can find something like that and kind of push it out.
I'll look
Uh,
it up.
yeah, but there's a lot of things, and you'd be surprised. It's a lot of meds that we use on a regular basis. A lot of the brain medicines. I don't know your medication list to be clear to everybody. I don't know the meds, but a lot of like the Alzheimer's meds and Parkinson's meds and things like that can affect it. Antidepressants can, I know. So there's a lot of things on that list.
Thank you.
Sure. Anything else, guys?
I have a question about leaky gut.
Yeah.
So I guess first of all, how would you know if you have it? And second of all, how do you write it? Right? Like I know
Yeah.
that's very overarching. There's probably a lot to it, but just in general, I
Well,
guess.
in general, I mean, I think, most of us eating a standard American diet probably have some degree of leaky gut, right? There are
Mhm.
tests that you can do. So there's one for zonulin and there are certain other like ingestion tests that you can see, like sugars that shouldn't be in the bloodstream that you can kind of drink and then do a blood test for. While certainly you can do that, I think for me, I don't test unless I need to, because, again, you can kind of assume that everyone's going to have it. How do you correct it? Well, number one is the anti-inflammatory diet, right? What you're doing, and a lot of the benefit that we see in terms of the health benefits are sealing those connections with eating correctly, favoring the good bacteria, giving your body those prebiotic fibers. So in the core veggies, that's why the core veggies, right? Giving your body those prebiotic fibers that will enhance the good bacteria and kind of arm them like they're the rebels, right? That you give them arms to kind of fight against the bad bacteria.
Mhm.
If people are really severe, things like glutamate and inulin and some other things can be used therapeutically as over the counters to help with leaky gut. But the first thing starts with removing anything from the diet that can cause inflammation. Then giving time for repair, adding if you need to some of these supplements that can help with that, and then restoring the normal bacteria either naturally through eating correctly or adding probiotics. Now we've talked about this in the past, but it's probably a good time to bring it up. Is that probiotics? Remember, when you take a probiotic, that's only lasting in your system maybe 48 hours to 72 hours tops, right? So you constantly have to reseed, with probiotics on a daily basis if you're going to use probiotics to kind of get things better. But the best way to do it is to heal the gut with diet, giving yourself the proper fibers and whatnot to allow your body's natural balance to happen again. Supplements like berberine, we talked about that before. Beth, you missed all the great stuff in the last couple of weeks, but berberine is a citrus alkaloid that you can use to kind of switch from from carb metabolism, fat metabolism. It kind of moves that AMPK switch that we were talking about before. another benefit to what it does is it actually promotes the healthy bacteria. That's why some people can get GI distress or diarrhea when they go on berberine because they have such a significant dysbiosis that good bad bacteria is shifted so much that berberine can really help. So there's a lot of things that can be done, but for me, what I've seen is that again in the program is that if you're getting your diet, your stress, your sleep in order, just naturally about 90% of people are going to balance pretty significantly. And then if there is some ongoing thing, like Sal mentioned, diverticulitis, so what happens there is in your large intestine you get these little outpouchings where a blood vessel comes in. There's a weak spot in the vessel, and so you get these outpouchings and food and stuff can get stuck in those pouches and fester and cause inflammation. If there's something more advanced like that going on, then just diet alone isn't going to do the trick. For most of us, just simple dietary interventions can do really well. One. I heard it's kind of gross. I'm sorry, but I was talking to one of my colleagues who's a GI doctor, and she's a functional GI doctor in Atlanta, and she says that she asks, what's it like? What's your wiping situation like? Like after you poop, what's your wiping situation? Because normally, you shouldn't, you shouldn't have to wipe all the time. There's this one comedian that says when he wipes sometimes after he goes to poop, it's like trying to wipe a permanent marker dry. It kind of sounds gross, right? Um, but um, but it should be relatively quick. That means that you're actually in good gut health because you've got the good bacteria are flourishing. So that could be like a daily test that you can do is just to kind of see, is there something that's persisting and and I'm like having to use a lot of tissue to wipe, or is it where it's like, it just kind of cleans up really easily. That's kind of a bedside marker. Well, hopefully not bedside, but bathroom side marker of gut health.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, yeah, what happens?
Easy.
And then Louis C.K. Well, whatever. I don't know. It can get poop jokes can turn a corner really quickly. So
Yes,
we'll
yes.
just leave it at that and just type in poop joke permanent marker, and I'm sure you can find it somewhere. But yeah,
Awesome. Thanks, Sanjay.
no worries. All right. Anything else? If not, thanks everybody for being here. Beth, like I said, great to have you back.
Yeah, good to be
Next
here.
week, we're actually going to be on spring break. So we are going to show the kids colleges in the Midwest. We're leaving today. So no session next week. I'll have a makeup when we get back for any questions. I will be, though, doing the Monday night cardiology. I don't know if you guys, I sent it out to the email list, but every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern, I do an hour of just live question and answer for people. You guys have access to me, but a lot of people don't, where I'm just answering questions about heart health and metabolic health, and it's been kind of fun. So that's going to be on Instagram. I know that's kind of a maybe not everybody is on that program or on that, but I will
How
be.
do you how do you
What
find you on Instagram?
on Instagram? It's my handle. I'll put it in the chat. Is at Dr. Doctor Sanjay Sanjay MD. I'll send an email out to everyone on the newsletter list, Sal, so you can see my account on there. But it's just an hour. It's kind of fun, no script. I say no script, just answers. So here you guys get the good stuff, but there it's just people come at me with questions, and it's just kind of a fun time to interact with folks. So if you want to pop in there, absolutely happy to have you. Otherwise, have a great week. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. I'll send out like a replay of one of our old sessions next week, so you have something. And if there's any questions, reach out. Kyle's still around on the app, and just glad to have all you guys here.
Thanks, Sanjay. Have a good
All
trip.
right, bye guys.
Bye.
Right.